Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulil Kareem, amma ba'd. Um, so today we're going to cover um, just about how to approach doubts and how to reach a level of conviction. So that's the purpose of today's session. And in the upcoming sessions, I'm going to be debunking major doubts that a person might have in Islam. So things that you might not encounter, like you might not encounter or you will encounter, but you will not have. It'll be very difficult for you to find the answer. So that's another thing. So it's just to show you like how like the attack can be pretty solid. Like it looks like pretty solid, but then like the defense of it is solid as well. So it completely rips it apart. So the defense of it rips it apart. So here let's go to some of the. This is a post I made a while ago, about 2021. So this post has been also approved by a scholar. Let me show you. Um, so here, this is a scholar who actually approved of it when I sent it. He said it's a good advice and whatnot. So he said brilliant, very timely advice. So what is this advice that the scholar approved of? This advice is essentially how to approach knowledge, how to approach doubts and questions, and also knowledge as well. So the first thing is the knowledge should be sought from the correct sources. So it's not false information that you are taught. Number two, allegations should be taken to scholars. Sometimes one scholar will not know, so you may have to look around for expert scholars and approach books too and reliable websites and videos. By doing this, your answer will be addressed. So sometimes one scholar might not know the answer because they're not expert in that field. So you'll have to approach multiple scholars or someone who's actually an expert in that field. You need someone because not every scholar would be an expert in a particular field, whether it's science or history and whatnot. Number three, if there's no need to expose yourself to allegations, then don't. Allegations are generally portrayed in a deceptive way to cause internal struggle. That's pretty much the nature of it. So allegations they'll be framed in a way just to like it'll put you off. Like it'll just it'll be like an internal struggle that's gonna make you have an internal struggle. But the thing is that internal struggle is happening because of lack of knowledge, or it's happening for other reasons because um, if you ever had a doubt and you took it to a scholar and he explained it to you, you realize that that doubt itself was due to lack of knowledge or multiple other factors, and not necessarily the claim was correct. And personally, I've also encountered that many times where a person has brought an allegation to me, and the allegation was pretty petty and it was easy to debunk. But all it requires is a little bit of research and whatnot. Okay. Number four, we are not required to look into them because the list is somewhat continuous. If you solve one, another allegation will come and it's endless cycle. So that cycle, we're not required to keep looking into them again and again. It's not our purpose. Our purpose shouldn't be this because it's going to become overwhelming because not everyone has that knowledge to all of these questions or doubts. So if you don't have that knowledge and then you're going to go to people and watch things or read things that's going to give you doubts. What's happening is it's a self-imposed condition. You're going to be self-imposing this upon yourself, where you're going to be stressed out, you're going to be sad. Why? Because you don't have the answer. You don't have immediately. No one will have an answer. So it's going to require some research. Number five, if you're given da'wah, so basically inviting people to Islam, then address those people allegations who are sincere. Do not address those who will gish gallop. So gish gallop is where you throw multiple points at you. So if people are throwing multiple points at you or they're insulting you, you can tell there's a hypocrisy, there's a problem with them. They have a disease in the heart. And if they're telling you things and it's going against their own religion, that's hypocrisy. So you gotta be aware how to identify it. So you should be like there's tell signs to be able to identify who's sincere and who's not sincere. Now, obviously, we don't know what's in the person's heart, but from the apparent, we can tell how they approach the individual. So, if someone comes to me and starts swearing, I know straight away this person is not interested. He's just here to attack. That's right. He doesn't have a sincere motive. Now, if someone comes to me with a sincere motive and he says to me, "I want to understand this," and then you explain it to them, and you explain it with evidence, you explain it thoroughly, and they're still not understanding, then possibly you can maybe explain it further. You can There's a lot of things, but the way he's going to react after you give the answer, that's going to be a way of to tell as well. So if he's reacting, if he's hyper reacting, then you can tell this person is not sincere. Like in the sense that he starts swearing or he starts to be abusive, or you can tell by the tone of voice most of the time if they're being sarcastic and whatnot. Um, and generally they will do this with it'll take it out of context without actually seeking to understand. So generally you shouldn't be engaging with such people unless, so there are like some exceptions, such as if the purpose is to educate the vulnerable naive audience. So if that is the purpose, then there wouldn't be a much issue. Like you can do that if you have that knowledge to combat them. But it shouldn't be just for that person, because the person, if you know is unsincere, then you're just wasting your time. Sometimes it may take days, weeks, months, years to receive an answer. So that's because depending on your research, depending on who you approach, that can take a while to get your answer. But rest assured, there is an answer in Islam. We have everything because we have a level of certainty, which I'll come to next. But we just need to seek it. So patience is key, and defer the question for later investigation, and don't panic. So some people start panicking. Oh no, there's so many doubts. I need an answer immediately. So you gotta defer it to another time, and for later investigation. If you want to write a list, you can write a list, and take your time. There's no rush to seek an answer. You can write a list so the allegations don't just build up in the mind, so that hopelessness does not occur. Also, achieve a state of conviction. So this is actually a foundation thing. Achieve a state of conviction we can't be broken with allegations, whether that is the relationship with Allah or Islamic proofs, etc. So you need to first be able to recognize Islam to be true. Like, there should be a solid basis that doesn't matter what someone brings, it wouldn't throw you off. So it's something that's going to be solid. You can look at Islamic proofs like prophecies. You can also look at the Quranic miracle, the linguistic aspects to it, how it's constructed. There's many things that you can look at to reach that certainty. You can also have a spiritual connection with Allah. That's another way to reach that conviction. Um, but you need to make sure that's in place, because people will throw many things at you, and you should always have that basis, a foundation that it's unbroken, it can't be broken. Yeah, so that's essentially the points I wanted to mention. So now I just want to show you a video which talks about bad company and negative effects. So this video essentially talks about it's by a scholar, and he explains how bad company, if you continuously remain in it, it's going to have a negative impact on it. It doesn't matter who it is, and it's based on a social study. It's like a social experiment that took place, and people even denied their own sight. So something that they could see, they even denied it because of social conformity. You can type that in YouTube, you can find it, social conformity, and it's also, I think it's called Ash experiment. And you can see people denying something that with their own eyes because of what other people around them, they're saying and their environment. So let's have a look at this video. I'm gonna play it and inshallah we'll watch it together.
See, what happens is, sometimes we're in this world, there's people who deny the Quran. When they deny, if you remain amongst the people who deny something, and they deny it, and they deny it, and they deny it, and every day you're with them, they deny and deny, soon it affects your heart. It affects your mind. You say, maybe. They did these tests in the 60s. You know how the human being is. The human being gets affected by his environment, gets affected by his surroundings. In the 1960s, they made this scientific experiment. What was this scientific experiment? We had to study this when I was doing my degree in psychology. What did they do is, they got about 12 people in a room. 12 people. Imagine you're one of them who goes into this room. So what they did is that they have a conversation, right? And 11 of them are setups. You're the 12th one. You don't know that. You think everyone's just been brought together in this room and you're all sort of not together. You're all the same. But what you don't realize is all 11 of them have been programmed to say certain things. And you don't know this, right? So you go inside and you have a little story, whatever they share. They say, look, David, went to his, David did this and David did that and David. They talk about David and what he did and so little sort of incident. So after a little while, after about another 20 minutes or whatever, or 15 minutes, they say, okay, so who was the guy? Who was the guy that did that thing, that incident? And of course, you're going to say what? You're going to say it's David. So you say it's David. They go, what? All 11 go, what? David? Yeah, you go, yeah, David. That's what we all discussed. David. They go, no, Michael. We talked about Michael. Who mentioned David? They go, no, you mentioned David. So the guy goes, no, you mentioned David. And all 11 go, David? Yeah. Did you mention David? And because all 11 of them are denying David being mentioned in that gathering, and they all say Michael, no, it's Michael, and they carry on, and they're convinced it's Michael, you in that position feel embarrassed, and you think, maybe I've heard it wrong. Yes? Maybe I've heard it wrong. So you say, yeah, you guys are right, it's Michael. No matter how many times they've done this test, they found that eventually the guy gives in. He doesn't say that, no, it's David. No, all 11 are wrong. It's David. No, he doesn't do that. He actually ends up saying, no, it's Michael, or whatever the case was. And then they finish the session and they tell him that, look, it was a test that we did upon you. So what they're trying to prove from this test is, in normal life, with peers, there's a lot of pressure. The peer pressure and the world and the people out there, what they will say, and if you remain amongst a crowd that are all denying something, and you're the only one who's agreeing to it, eventually it affects you. Eventually you're having self-denial. So the same thing here is, that's why, one of the things is, Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa kunu ma'as sadiqin. Oh, you who believe, be aware of Allah, and you should stay and remain with the truthful ones. Because if you remain with liars, you will become a liar. It will affect you. Eventually it will affect you. The ones who stay with the people who swear, eventually they start swearing. Eventually they will start swearing. Or if they don't swear, they'll say something light swear. Or they'll start to say something which is untrue. Or they'll start saying something which is not totally true. Whatever it is, they will do that. So, in this ayah, Allah Azza wa Jal, He says what? He says that Allah is enough as a witness. And what does this all mean? This means that me and you, we have to remember, we don't care how many people deny the truth of Islam. You've got to make your iman so strong that no matter how many people deny it, we're going to stay with it. That's why Allah Azza wa Jal, He praised the wife of Fir'aun so much. Why? Because her husband's crew, staff, everyone, soldiers, the whole of the qawm, the whole of the nation was denying God, except for the nation of Musa, and she was the only one inside there that she still believed in Allah Azza wa Jal. And because of that, Allah mentioned her in the Quran, in Surah At-Tahrim. Now there are many verses here. Allah says, if it comes to something where someone's denying the Quran, you know what we're going to say? Allah said, قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ. Say Allah is enough as a witness between me and you. Khalas. Allah is enough as a witness. I don't need to prove. If you can't prove the validity of the Quran, if you haven't got that argument, you just say, كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ. Allah is enough. I don't need anything more. If you find Allah said in the Holy Quran, He said, فَاشْهَدُوا وَأَنَا مَعَكُمْ مِنَ الشَّاهِدِينَ. Say, you witness this, and say that I am from one of the witnesses. Allah has said, وَاللَّهُ شَهِيدٌ عَلَى مَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah is enough as a witness over the deeds that you do. Surah Al-Imran, ayah number 98. Allah has said in the Holy Quran, وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. Allah over everything is a witness. This is in Surah Al-Mujadala, ayah number 6.
So yeah, that's a pertinent advice that's been given by the Sheikh. So yeah, inshallah we can heed on the advice. I think that's it for this stream. So I'll end the stream here, inshallah.